Well, hello again, everyone. This is Bob Martin, the RCSubGuy with the Nautilus Dry Docks, and I'm here with
Logan.
It's a new week, Monday, the 9th of December. This month is going fast already. For those of you unfamiliar, this channel deals all with RC submarines, mostly RC submarines. We are going to be showing you what we work on, all this stuff, our trials, tribulations, successes, failures, opportunities, etc., etc., etc. So, hey, if you like what you see, like and subscribe, helps us out a lot. Let's get the week started. So the first thing that we did that I'm kind of excited about, and Logan's holding it, if you guys follow my channel, you'll have seen in the past I've built a handful of fully functional remote-controlled sharks, some of which were of fairly considerable size. 5 feet long, 4 feet long. What we're hoping to do is bring this product to market as a ready-to-run shark at a reasonable price. And as such, we made a little bit of terms of a concession. This shark, which is the prototype part 4, is about 40 inches long, which is still pretty substantial, but we're going to be using some of the same hardware from the larger sharks in the smaller sharks, which is good and bad. The big thing that we're worried about right now are the thrusters, and I got Logan to do some math. All right, so why are we worried about the math?
Well, it's always a matter of fluid input to output. If you don't have enough input volume, you don't really have any output, and if you don't have enough output volume, then you're pretty well dragging yourself. I've got my thruster here. I've got the gills. Before that, all I did was just kind of look at it headlong, kind of take a bit of a guesstimation, bit of a guess by the ruler, did that here, and then I took the area of the mouth as the input, and I have that here. So all we did was just take the inner radius of the thruster, get the, well, I took the diameter because it was a bit easier at the time, got the area of that. After that, looked at the gills for output, again, kind of sidelong, and being sure to subtract where we have our gills, because we don't want to account for that space when it's occupied. So we figure there's going to be a bit of an issue on fluid output, but the good news on fluid input is that it looks like we should end up having just about enough, even with 2 thrusters, because each thruster is going to be taking about 27 centimeters or cubic centimeters of fluid through them, but we have 56 cubic as an entrance. So
yeah, so 27 doubled is 54. So basically what all this means is we should theoretically have just enough for this thruster at full tilt to suck in water. Throwing water out the gills, there is a restriction, which I would actually rather have, because with a restriction, if we're trying to force the same amount of volume through a smaller hole, we're going to increase the pressure. So it'll be like putting your finger on a garden hose, right? It'll spray further, it'll spray harder. Input is the biggest concern here. So if we wanted it to equal out, we would have to cap the throttle at 75%, which is fine. I mean, these thrusters are ridiculously awesome for a shark of that size. So we don't need to necessarily, I think, worry too much about that. Really, what we're trying to do is just figure out, make sure we didn't have a massive restriction on the input side. So if we did, we would have to throttle these back a little bit, which isn't a big deal. I think we're good. Okay, we are working on Akula. I'm shortening up the studs here, and went ahead and did that, and I soldered them directly into these mounting nut things. Problem, I went to straighten them out so they would align perfectly in here and snapped that right off. Just like that. So what we're going to do is re-solder on the cut pieces with a sleeve, because this is still threaded, and then I'll just seal this entire thing. We got some progress here, but I want to share a little kind of cool project that Logan's working on. So this is a mechanical iris, and the reason I'm doing this is because Stacy, when he sold me that other Nautilus, was like completely and utterly devastated that he actually let me have the irises, because he's really wanting to put irises in his RC Nautilus. And I got rid of the other ones on him. So I found these files with the thanks of one of my customers, my viewers, one of you guys. This is on Thingiverse, by the way, if you want to look for it. I scaled it up to something approaching what Stacy's going to end up needing. Had to do a bunch of modifications. I made the leaves thinner so that you can close it more. But what we're trying to do here is see if this is actually going to work. So this is like our first try, isn't it? There we go. Is it kind of crunchy or is it smooth?
It's smooth. I'm just going real careful because, I mean, each of the nubs is, what, half of this?
Yeah.
So if any one of them snaps, you're going to have a little bit of a lazy eye.
I doubt they snap. This is ABS, so they're pretty tough. All right, well, if that kind of worked, then what we'll do, we'll put the spacers in and get some proper hardware, and then and then do it. So this was a proof of concept. If this does work, I think what I'll do is extend one of these nubbers on the outside, and that'll be the arm, the sweep arm. We'll have to figure out how much it needs to move to do a full open and close. Let's get it bolted up, and we'll see how it works. Akula's got a cylinder. Look at this. It's a little dirty. We'll get it cleaned up. But shortened. All the studs are in place and in the correct length. They fit perfectly in the bulkheads here. So now we just need to figure out the correct linkage setup stuff here. So I'll do a proper bendy bend to get these to intersect properly. And then let's see what this looks like. Oh man, that's close. If that was just a little bit longer, it would have connected straight to it. But we'll see. Maybe we'll do a. It's challenging because this comes in like at an angle and then kind of drops down and pushes in. So getting it to intersect for a dog bone is going to be super challenging. Might need to do a universal into an intermediate shaft into a dog bone in order to get the proper amount of installation flexibility. But this is looking good. It's gonna get a 900 megahertz radio system. Customer's gonna use his own radio. Gonna pick this up at Subfest. And so what I'll do is I'll steal the radio from the Typhoon, which is not sold yet. I'll just add another model. We'll do all the testies and setups and all of that stuff. And then when it's ready, we'll just bring it to Subfest at the end of April. So next step is finishing getting this set up. I think the entire front is all done, including the remote on-off switch and everything. So I just need to do the pitch controller, the receiver, and run our linkages. And Jason is doing battery duty. We got a battery set up right there. That's a 6 amp lithium ferric phosphorus life PO4.
Good cheap like that.
And that's going to live up in the front now. Now, some of you might be concerned because these are lithium batteries. We've run lithium batteries in the wet before, and these are completely sealed units. This one isn't, because this isn't the one we're using in it. But the only seam is this one right here. So it's really, really easy to seal. These are all potted, completely waterproof. So I feel pretty confident in using these in the wet. Now, obviously, the only thing you need to worry about is dropping it and shattering it and breaking it. But hopefully, if you were to do that, you would check it for damage before you put it back in your boat. The beauty of these is these weigh about half of what a sealed lead acid battery would be. And our real estate is limited up in the front there. We're going to need to add enough foam to offset the weight of this thing. And we got waterproof connectors that are going in. The other one's already got the waterproof connector, and he also built a charging adapter. There we go. So we're making lots of progress here. All right, here's our finished iris. This is looking pretty good. That's as tight as it's going to get. Based on the thickness. All of this is 3D printed. And that's the thickness that we got with my printer, which is thin. Very thin. But that's the limiting factor on the inside diameter of the aperture. So, we'll see what Stacy says. I don't know if he wants us. Oh, of course he's going to want us to do it. And he's going to want it all actuated with working everything, so he just bolts it in. I don't have the time or initiative to do that. But this was kind of cool. It was a neat little departure. Put this somewhere. Here. That's where that belongs. Hold down for Akula is all done. Just 2 stainless bolts and a little bar that pins the forward knurled nuts. Work really good. One thing with a design like this, you got to make sure you understand the alignment or orientation of these slots and these slots is critical. So the way that I do that, I keep this loose, put the back in, drop the front in, twist it so that these are perfectly flat, and then tighten it down. Once that's done, you can see on here I've milled in little indicators in terms of the alignment of the different tube sections. So now, every time you put it together, it's exactly where it needs to be. We are going to now open this up, drop in the receiver, hook up the servos, put the pitch controller in, and bind it to that radio, and then we're going to start playing with it. Another neat thing here, I thought this was a double universal. And I'm like, oh man, I'm going to have to go get another one. No, I don't, because this is actually 2 single stage universals. I can just loosen this, pop this whole thing off, and then do a little intermediate and a dog bone coupler, and we're done. All right, Virginia is looking good. Let me show you. So I've got everything functional. We got some rudderage situation. We got some forward diplane situations. Oh, I put that on the wrong switch. That sucks. Anyhow, that's the ballast and forward diplanes and throttlage. Might need a little grease or something. And then the stern plane override, and the pitch controller. So when it goes, nose goes down, pulls, and the planes go up, and back we go. So now we're just working out connections for linkages and the drive shaft. And Jason's firing up Stacy's new 100 mil dual tank cylinder that he's going to put in that big OTW X-Craft.
I'm just working on running some wires right now, so I'm going to drill a little hole, run everything up. I'm assuming try to get the receiver over in this area somewhere.
Yeah.
So make it all nice and pretty.
And Logan is making big blocks of foam.
Yep, this is the flotation foam for the front of here. I figured I'll try something a bit different than just carving the typical arcs that you normally see for flotation foam in here. And I'm basically going to try and recreate this nose with this block, which shouldn't be terrible. Good news is I only need to fill up the bottom half, so I basically just got 2 attempts at this. I can try the top and the bottom half of this.
Well, it's not split in half. It's split at about 2/3. It's up here. So you do just have 1 crack at it. And you're going to use a combination, probably saws and sanders, right?
Yeah. I mean, I'll saw it so that it has a general hexagonal shape along the hull. Then I'll throw it on the belt sander for a few seconds and should shape up pretty nicely. And then I just need to touch it up with maybe some sandpaper to get it perfectly in line.
Yeah. Throwing that on the sander, that's not going to make a mess at all.
Oh, it's going to be so much fun.
All right, challenge with this boat This is all hooked up for the dive planes right now, but we've got some wigglage going on. Shaft's not moving, just the plane is, which means in typical fashion it is slipping on the drive shaft, which is just like awesome. There's no set screws or anything like that. I got excited. I thought maybe the set screw was just loose, but there's nothing drilled on any of these. So what I'm going to need to do, yeah, you can see the end is not moving. That's the end of the control shaft right there. So what I'm going to need to do is drill down. Oh man, that's going to be tricky too because it's right on that edge. All right. Well, now I've really got to put some thought into this. Basically, we need to secure the shaft to the control surface without permanently gluing said control surface to the stabilizer. All right, I think I've got a strategization for the sternage of the Akula, which I accidentally called Virginia a few minutes ago. Why didn't you guys catch me? So I used a 16th inch drill bit right there, went straight in, hit the shaft, and then walked the bit around the side of it. So now I've got nice shiny stainless steel exposed in two spots here. What I've done is I've used some thin acrylate and wicked it in the holes with the hopes that it will hit the shaft and then flow up and down in the bore and secure it to the shaft. We're gonna hope. I did it on the bottom. We'll see if it works. So we got a little bit of time. We got 20 minutes before the end of the day, and so we're pulled the albacore out. I thought somebody would have jumped all over this. Super cool boat. For those of you that forgot from that video when we were at Jason's, let's take a look inside. Now this is a Subtech albacore with the vacuum-formed hull, but it's super cool. The fitment's actually really good. I just don't have it seated on there right now.
It's really durable for being vacuum.
Yeah, really cool, like hatch details on there. But full-fledged, full-blown, modern, watertight cylinder. Gas ballast system, linear servos, belted main drive. This is really clean, really clean. The only thing that we've noticed so far is that the rubber boot for the switch seems to be torn. Now, that's a super easy fix. We'll get that looked after, but this I think maybe will be a Logan project for the next day. And in theory, if we just fix this, do a function test, throw it in the pool, get her trimmed, and chuck her in the big pool, drive it around. And then hopefully she'll find a new home. Because remember, not only do you get this one, but you get the sister boat, which is the original Subtech albacore with the dry hull. And it's like a 2-for-1 deal. You can't go wrong. Here's our repaired cylinder. Put a new boot. Or as we Canadians like to say, boot. We don't say that, you guys. You know better than that. So we're going to let this kick off overnight. And then we are going to be on to, just dropping it in and trimming it, right? Full function test. We'll make sure everything is working. And yeah, we'd be good. We'd be good. You know the reason that you didn't hear the pump? Because it doesn't have a pump. This is a gas ballast system.
Oh, that would do it. So we just got to recharge the, recharge it.
Yeah, which means we're probably going to need to make a gas ballast adapter. I should see if I got the parts for that. All right, no problem. We can do it.
Everything worked, including that, and I saw the servo moving for it, so theoretically, if everything goes well, fingers crossed, knock on wood, it should just work. Might just have to retrim it.
Just work. Yeah, I don't know. It had pool noodle in it. Not good. See what water pressure does to this? And then you end up with a negatively ballasted boat that is sitting on the bottom of the pond. All right, Let's wrap things up. Get out of here. Tuesday, pretty sure. Bright and early, and just got in the shop. We're getting some orders ready to go. Getting the batteries charged up on Albacore. And created a charging adapter. This is a really Mickey Mouse thing I set up. So I didn't have any of the flexible adapters that I usually use, so this is like a little bit of an abortion, but hey, it works. Getting this charged up, getting the battery charged up, that'll all be ready to go. You can do final test, throw it in the boat, throw it in the pond, pool, top secret test facility, and see what it does, where it floats, if it floats, if it sinks, if it comes back up again. And I got a lot done this morning already. So these worked. These rudders. That's not rudders. This is rudders. So they're all connected. And they're working really, really good. And the dive planes I just secured by the same manner. So drilled in, machined around there a little bit, got it nice and crunchy, got the thin CA in there, and glued it. So I'm just letting those sit. I'm not going to touch it. Don't touch. The other thing that we've got going on here is this forward section. So we talked about the hold down yesterday, and that's working really good. The challenge is that this is the battery scenario that we've got. And thanks to the forward dive plane proximity, this doesn't fit no matter what we do. I mean, I guess that would kind of fit, but this is rub, and then you got the forward dive planes run right through here. So what we are going to do is nix this whole thing. I'm going to pop this open, just do away with all of this linkage, and then we're going to run a waterproof connector that goes to a waterproof servo in the upper hull. And in that way, the linkage is 100% fixed. We don't need to worry about engineering a magnetic click-on and getting all the orientations and alignments perfect. I had played around with the idea of cutting this out and mounting it permanently to the lower hull. The challenge is the way that the upper hull goes on. So it drops down and slides back. So that does away with that whole thing, unfortunately. But I think this is going to be better, much, much better. So this will just be a nice waterproof connector that'll come out, and you just do a little quick, and you're done. You have your full forward dive plane controls with no need for external linkages. Updatification on this crazy thing. So this is all done. And I want you to note how I sealed this tube here. I put a brass tube out of the old intake and then slipped a silicone tube over there. So now we got a perfect seal, and it's really easy to change this out if you need to. And I put a new nipple for that, so we don't have that gigantic weird loop of pipe. I just figured this would be better. I need to remember to plug this hole, or that's going to be tragic. Could you figure that out for me real quick? Yeah. And basically determine that this battery is just going to be too problematic to work with. So the whole linkage for the forward dive planes crosses right through the battery. We're not going to have any room in here for foam to offset the weight of it. This is just overkill, unfortunately. So I just ordered a pair of 12 volt 2200 packs. So this will have 4.4 amps power, but they'll sit nice and low in the hull down here, which will keep our center of gravity low. We got lots of room for foam to offset, and all of our linkages will be good. So I can go ahead and rig up the forward dive plane servos in here without any need to worry about that. And then we can also screw around with our whole rear planage situation. That is coming along. Oh, and Logan got the foam done in the forward part of the Virginia. So now we can work out a mount for the battery and get some lead strip in the keel, and then we're going to be awfully close to trimming. had extra exciting stuff. Nathan stopped by, grabbed the Sea Ray. You guys missed out on it. It was a super cool boat. He's gonna get that set up. We might have a shop day. We might all brainstorm that together. We've got Balao, completely outfitted, bench tested. It's working properly. In theory, it's trimmed. We are going to have her in her maiden voyage in the pool today. But first, we're going to trim out the albacore. So Virginia now has her weights inside, kind of kicking off, but fortunately they're nestled really nicely inside there. I can't remember if I... Anyhow, you can see on the bottom. See? But now what we're going to do is retest center of mass. So real carefully, what Logan's going to do is pick the boat up roughly with that in the middle of your hands. And just see... Is that where it is? Yeah. Are you having to cheat it? Looks like a little heavier this way. Do you have to shuffle your hand back that way a little bit?
I'm not changed to this. Just a little bit more.
Okay, all right. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, that's right banging center of the ballast tank. But what we didn't do was put the top on. That could change things. We better put the top on. That looks more like a boat. Let's see what that did. It should pull it a little bit forward. Yeah. Oh, quite a bit forward.
More.
So basically right at the forward edge of this sonar dome thingy, majigger, right there. All right. Now where does that correspond to the ballast tank? Oh, actually, just maybe 3/4 of an inch forward. So that's not bad. I think this is a good place to start. So now the fundamental question is, do we need to add foam or is it going to float? While we are waiting, well, actually we can go, the sun is up. Look at that. We can start throwing boats in the water. But in the meantime, we've been working on the iris for our 48 Nautilus kit. I designed these 3D files to hold the iris, and now you can see the iris working on the arm there. Still got to cut that off, by the way. This is all going to be powered by linear actuators. The reason I went with linear actuators is because they have sufficient stroke, which in this case is 50 millimeters, forward and back, and they have built-in limit switches. So while they may be a little bit more expensive to purchase on the outset, they're tidier and much, much easier to implement for you guys looking to put this in your boat. So how do we control this contraption?
This here switch.
And it's a nice stately pace. It probably takes, what, like 6, 7, 10 seconds maybe to go through its arc.
Yeah, 15, 15.
So it's a 3-position, dual pole, dual throw switch. And this is super simple. It just gets hooked up to 12-volt power right here. And then this is the wiring for it. So anybody out there who wants to rig up a reversing switch for a motor or anything like that, this is how you wire it. You connect the outside terminals. Inside terminals go to your motor, and then the outside one here goes to power. And now when you flick the switch in the other direction, the actuator retracts. So now all we need to do is rig up the mounting assembly for this and connect it to our little pin here on a swivel, which shouldn't be bad. I don't think it'll be too bad. So we'll leave this here for now, or actually maybe put it on the bench over there. Time to get some boat sweat. We're getting bundled up because it's cold out. It's like 40 degrees outside right now, but it's nice and sunny out there. I'm going to go turn off my spill pump, and we're going to start by trimming out Virginia. So here we are at the top secret test facility with Virginia. We're gonna dunk it in our leaf-strewn pool. Oh my god, my pool is a disaster. Yikes. Okay, please float, please float, please float. We're floating.
Really floating.
This is going to be easier than I thought. So we just need some. We have too much foam in the bow.
Yeah, I said as much. You said the battery's in the front, but we have like the entire nose cone is full of foam, as well as the battery bracket is also all foam.
That is a lot of extra foam.
I mean, the good news about the nose cone is that if we take it out, it's divided into 3 segments. We can rip off any one segment super easily.
I don't know. It's really statically stable. All right, well, we'll pull it out. Maybe knock off. Are we going to be able to get the nose cone out with these side pieces? Maybe if we just pull these side pieces out?
But they're holding the battery
They're
in
holding
place.
the battery in place, yeah.
Are they glued in?
Yep.
We have added weight to the boat. And got that big chunk right there of a whole bunch of this sheet. I think we might need to add more, but we're just gonna take it one step at a time. Throw the lid back on, chuck it in, and see what she does. Check that out. Added some more weight in the front and under the battery. Man, this thing is gonna be so solid. But we got the perfect water line right now. Now we see if our ballast tank capacity is going to line up to the point where we can get fully submerged. So we're going to grab the radio, fire this thing up. All right. Oh, good. You know, before we do anything else, I'm super curious. Let me grab it, and I want to see what that pump jet is going to push out. Yep, that's moving water.
That's full right there.
Okay, let's see what she'll accelerate like.
Okay.
Yeah, I think this is just about right. Okay, cool. Okay, it's going down by the stern, so it looks like we're going to need to add foam above the water line in the stern. Okay, just keep her going. Okay, stop it. Now we're gonna pull it out and I wanna see how full the ballast tank is. Sit rep. Okay, so we got a big strip of foam in the back there because the back was low and the front was high. What this is telling me though is that the ballast tank does not have sufficient capacity to float this boat at the designed water line. When we just checked it, and we can show you guys when we bring it out, the pump does not have enough oomph to get the water all the way up to the first, to the cutoff. So what we're going to need to do is one of two things: vent the tank into the dry compartment, which we could try first, because I don't think it is right now. I don't think that vent goes all the way through.
Okay.
And that might give us a little bit of extra, because you can see now,
Yeah, it's just barely.
if we right on the center line, so where the ballast tank is, if we just give it a little weight, it's perfectly centered. We can get rid of a little bit of that foam in the back, like a sliver of it, but it'll be perfect. So we'll try doing that first and see where that brings us. So we're just showing you guys, the pump itself did not have enough juice to get that water up to that sensor tab. It's about 3/8 of an inch lower, which means we're losing a lot of ballast capacity in here. And for those of you who are saying, oh, you know, your battery's probably weak, that's fully charged, and it's a LIFE battery, which is actually running 12.8 versus 12 volts, so it's got even extra juice going to that pump versus what it would normally have. So if you look really carefully in here, right there, maybe you can't see it. Anyhow, There you go. That little sliver right there is a vent that's partially drilled. Oh yeah, it doesn't go all the way through. I can see it. It ends about 1/16 of an inch. If we drill that through, what'll happen... Oh, come here. Wake up. Focus! The air pressure will equalize through all of these compartments. And it'll allow it to fill up. The water level will hit the probe, shut off, and all is right with the world. We have albacore. We're going to do a final trim in the tank. Hopefully everything works. All we did was basically just glue stuff in here. Let's see where it floats today in ice water. Sinking, sinking. Okay, left stick, left. Left, your other left.
I know my lefts, I think.
Okay, good. That's about as perfectly neutrally buoyant as you could ever hope to get. All right, give her a little burp to the right. Up she comes. So just burp just a little gas in there. Let's go throw this thing in the top secret test facility. Oh man, that is about a quarter throttle. It's such a pain operating this thing in this pool because the jets on the side of the pool push it around so bad. All right, you know, I'm gonna back up this way, and we'll flood the tank. Let's see what happens. Oh, now we got to turn the performance. Now we're talking. Look at that. Yeah, it makes a difference, all right. So we just had albacore in the pool, and it did awesome. Worked really good. We'll go into a little summary of what we thought here in a minute, but in an attempt to get as much done today as we can, we've now got archer fish in the pool. We're just going to do a quick static dive test here, make sure our trim is all good, and then we're going to put it in the big pool, test out the propulsion, dive system, periscope depth, etc., etc. Okay, let's push this away from the... So like I mentioned before, I've got individual control over both ballast tanks or joint control. So right now I've got both tanks filling at the same time. So the thing about the two different tanks is you just, before you really start messing around with it, you just want to make sure that your trim is perfect. So I'm feeling pretty confident with this. So the tanks are full. It should fill and go all the way down. Now, of course, the jets are going to push this thing all over. All right. Well, let's spin it around and see if I can get her to go under. Oh yeah. Well, she get up and moves. Okay, it was like a quasi successful maiden of Balao. Actually, for the most part, everything was good. A slight correction to the trim with a little bit of foam. Not a big deal, but what we found is reverse was slipping in the boat, and I'll show you why. So the whole cylinder can move a little bit, like 3/32 of an inch. So I'm gonna push this back so that it gets the proper alignment here. But we're held down in the middle, but I need to put some clamps here. So I think what's happening in reverse only for some reason, not forward. Oh, you know why? Because I'll bet you this is forward. Let me see. This is forward. Yeah. So when the gears dig in, they're trying to pull themselves down. But in reverse, they're trying to walk themselves up. So they're slipping on the gears. So all I need to do is make a clamp here. A little clampination action. And that'll keep that locked in place. I thought the whole thing had enough rigidity, but apparently it doesn't. But I think other than that, it behaves actually really well. It needs more open water.
I'll just say we put 3 boats in the water and we got 3 boats back when neither one of us are wet. So
yes, that is a good thing. At the end of the day, this is minor. The trim was perfect once we got it dialed in with that.
That one, the albacore, was
perfect. And actually, the Virginia for a first trim, that's pretty good.
Yeah, I'll take that any day.
All right. Well, we got some strategies and some tactices to get all of these going. Okay, good stuff. So basically we're at the point where we got a lot of glue drying. We've got flotation foam setting. We've got glue for the ballast, gluing. We've got the flotation for Virginia, gluing. We're waiting on batteries. That's all done. We got to do a video for that tomorrow. And we're working on the irises again. This idea is not working because we changed our stroke. We'll go into this. Just ignore it for now. We'll show you the end product. And in typical Amazon fashion, I ordered a little shelf to go under here for my project bins, and they shipped it in a coffin. Like a little 3-foot box in a 4-foot by 2-foot by 2-foot box. Oh heavens, Amazon. So it is Thursday, and had a lot of cool stuff going on yesterday. As you can see, we're going to be prepping albacore here for an overview video. And as I do that, I wanted to talk to you about a couple of things that went on yesterday. Some of you know I sold my airplane, and I want to rent an aircraft in the interim until I get another one. So while I was training, we went to an airport called Pearland down here in South Houston. And while we were there, witnessed a bona fide aircraft collision in real time on the runway. It was crazy. A Cessna had touched down. A little purple plane came in directly behind it, like 50 feet behind it on the runway, and promptly slammed into the back of it. And the prop chewed up the entire side of the Cessna and stopped probably a foot behind the pilot of the Cessna. It was the craziest thing ever. I'll put a picture up here so you can see the aftermath. That was exciting. I've never been witness to an aviation accident like that before. Second thing of interest, I found, thanks to Jason, a listing for an Engel Akula on the subcommittee Facebook page. And it was a really good deal. It was about $1,000, $950. And I went ahead and reached out to the gentleman who had made the posting. And it took him a little while to get back to me. I reached out yesterday afternoon, and he got back to me at like 2 o'clock in the morning this morning. So He's like, hey, do you still want this? I'm like, yeah, absolutely. I can PayPal you the funds right away. And he's like, okay, go ahead, please send it friends and family so I'm not charged any fees. That's fine. I can understand people wanting to do that, but having been doing this for a while, I would prefer to pay a little bit more and ensure that I get a product. So I said, hey, I'll send you the extra 3.5%, but it'll go goods and services, and that way I have PayPal protection. This is where the red flags started coming up. Red flag number 1, I cannot accept money unless it's sent friends and family. That is not a thing. Number 2, red flag. He had no information on his Facebook profile. He had 2 pictures of himself, which look like they were taken off of LinkedIn, if I'm to be honest. No friends visible, no other photos, no posts, nothing. It was a completely blank slate. Starting to get a feeling that something is amiss here. Red flag number 3 came when I said, hey, this is a small hobby. Who do you know in our industry, in our hobby, that can vouch for you? You know, I'm not going to send you money without knowing who you are. He's like, hey, dude, don't worry about it. That's red flag number 3. Old guys, as the profile picture shows, they don't say dude. That's like, doesn't happen. He's like, let me send you some reviews from people who bought from me in the past. And he sends this blurry clip from a cell phone of a post in Facebook that says, hey guys, I need you to vouch for me so someone doesn't think I'm a scammer. And he sent this to me like 10 minutes after I had inquired about this. And there were like 5 little comments from people saying, A1 seller, am happy with excellent service provided. And, you know, similar, obviously non-English speaking comments, 4 or 5 of them in a row. So immediately, this is red flag number 4 now. So I basically said, this isn't going to happen. And then he said, don't worry, I'm a God-fearing man. I would never rip you off. And I just said, this isn't going to happen. So I did put a post up in the product page on the subcommittee. 99.9% this guy is a scammer. If he is not a scammer, he is one of the most inexperienced sellers on the face of the planet who made a lot of errors making his listing to the point where he had me convinced that he was Habib from India, whose job it was to take my money. We sold the kilo! Yay! It's going to Switzerland. To a good customer who's bought a lot of boats from us in the past. Man, is this ever clean? Looks pretty good. That's rigid foam. That's not bad. That's all doable. Somebody started. And you guys saw us testing the cylinder. All the functionalities are functioning and stuff. There's missing plumbing and some issues, but is that new peristaltic pump still in there? Oh, he gets that for free.
Yep. And did we put new speakers?
No, those were already in there. Yeah. Anyhow, we wanted to show you the bow retract. This is what it looks like inside. That's a syringe, boys and girls. And just a plunger with a little drive shaft attached to it that goes to these meshed gears that make the extension and retraction symmetrical about the outside. Blowing the tube. He's not going to be able to do it.
Yeah, worth a shot.
You're a smoker. You got no lung capacity. Okay. What we're doing in prep for shipping this thing, we're going to remove the tower. We like to do that as much as possible. We might... Oh, that prop's not even on there. It's just hanging off the back. So we'll take all that off, and that'll make a more robust shipping methodology. For those of you guys with the RCSubs.cz kits, this is how RPM Tech did the guides. So these act as guides, you know, through the inside for the cylinder to slide in and out on. Something like that might not be a bad idea. if you have to do that rear access thing and you're not doing the vertical or the horizontal cut like we did in Virginia over there. And this is what the inside looks like after you get it all put together like this. Nice tight seam, actually. This now I'm sad I'm selling it. Or sold it. And that, just look how thin that is. I mean, I don't know if you can tell, but that's like maybe 2 or 3 pieces of paper in thickness.
But you did do good, put some tabs in here.
Yeah, there are some tabs. The issue is these holes on the hull. It's so thin that the bolts just pulled right through it. You see? So, I mean, it's gonna take a little work to get perfect. It's just one of those things. Oh man, that's it. It is a nice fit back there. At any rate, we'll get Jason to screw this all back together again. We'll wrap it and shove it in a box and get it on its way to Switzerland. Okay, we are back out at the top secret test facility and we are going to refloat Virginia. Now that we've drilled out the ballast tank, we want to see if it's filling and if it will stop filling when that top probe is there. So I'm going to set this back down, take the top off, we're going to drop it in and see what happens. We're filling.
Move, dog. There we go. Okay, she's hovering right at my ankles. She still is.
Got a good fill rate. It's going down perfectly level even without the top on. Stop. Didn't stop.
Yeah, went right over the sensor. It's probably a bit hard to see on the video.
But we've got full capacity now. Uh-oh. There's a leak I can see right there. Oh, did it just stop or did you stop?
That's not me.
Oh.
Oh, the sensor's going again?
Yeah. There, it's working now. So we can move the rubber band up into the middle of the boat and then add a piece of foam right here. I think that's got it. It's tricky because there's air bubbles escaping from the cylinder which are going up into the upper hull, providing buoyancy until they burp out, and so it's making it tricky. But this looks like a really good place to start. We're going to pull it out and allocate some time and energy to addressing those leaks. So there's one more thing I wanted to talk about. As you saw, the cylinder was leaking. The entire thing was pressured up, right? Because the water was being pumped into the ballast tank, the air was being pushed into the dry compartments. But what happens if we were to cycle the ballast tank in the other direction? Now that we've lost air, it would actually create a vacuum in the cylinder, and those little leaks would suck water into the tank. So there was positive pressure the whole time, pulled it out, and now and only now are we going to reverse the pump and pump all the water out. That is going to wrap it up for Thursday. One more day before the end of the week. Let's recap where we're at, because we've got a lot done. Balao. Our work thus far, we are putting a hold down strap across the bottom there. And that is going to lock down these gears onto these other gears and not allow it to slip when it goes into reverse. Like I said before, in forward, it pulls the cylinder down and makes it even like better gripping, which is good because that's forward. But in reverse, it would lift itself out. So now that is going to stop. And once that's done, this is back ready to go again. We got the last of that foam put in the upper hull. So that is finished. We got a new battery pack. Logan built it. We got the nickel metal hydride battery pack, 12 volt, 4.4 amp hours. This is fully sealed and waterproofed, and it's going to live in the bow of the boat. And it's going to leave all the room for all the bow planage that we need to get this thing going. So that is super awesome. Had some leaks in the cylinder. We marked it with the little circle. You can see it right there. Right there, and then there is a little tiny leak coming out of here. That just needs to be tightened. That is not a big deal. It seems that sensor probe, after the initial weirdness, decided to start working. So this is all good now as well. This is drying out. We're going to hit the inside with some paint. And I think we're going to go with deep teal, just to make this look professional. Make people think that we're professional, even though, you know, we put on a good show. And that'll dress up the interior. We were going to paint the whole boat in this charcoal paint, but then I remembered we've got all the super awesome decals, the stickers that go on this, and they require at least a semi-gloss finish to adhere properly. If we were to go with this really matte finish, which I really, really like, they wouldn't stick properly. So we're going to go with more of a semi-gloss, get all the stickers and decals, get it looking beautiful, and then clear coat it. And that will be awesome as well. So we got a lot of projects that are getting very, very close. We need to bring that out to the lake. That's the only time it's going to be able to stretch its legs. Same thing with Virginia. Honestly, same thing with this too. So all three of these projects are really close. You know, a week or two, we'll see all of these off the bench and a new host on. Here's our ASDS, by the way. See you in the morning. Friday, end of the week, and it's early, but we got a lot done here so far. The big thing we got, Akula is alive. What do we got? Let's see here. We got our dive plane override, and we've got, if you center that, we got our pitch controller working. We got some rudderage. That's going to move some water.
Which one was ballast?
Big switch. Okay, turn it off. We want to run it too long.
He's got the servo.
He's got the servo. Yeah. So Logan is working on the servo. So now what we need to do, we need to unkink our hose, because I wasn't watching when I put it together. It's got a little kinkage in here. It's kinky. And then we are going to bring this out to the top secret test facility and test it out of the boat. That'd be smart. Okay, let's go see how Logan's making out. So what are we doing for the forward dive plane linkage?
Setting up this waterproof connector so that it will sit something along these lines. And now all I have to do is install some mounting brackets and then use some two-sided tape to keep it in place.
Yeah, nice and simple, one connection. Don't need to have like linkages that drop down and connect magnetically to the cylinder. This is all below surfaced waterline. So none of that is impacting the buoyancy or the ballast system. So yeah, we are doing good things here. And we fixed the periscopes. So boy, I bet if we put a little oil on there, they'd be super smooth. And we got some more progressives on Virginia. She's got some teal paint inside. It looks awesome. I love that color. It looks really good. And then Logan did the same thing on the upper hull, so we're just waiting for that to dry. Drop the cylinder in, do a final check, make sure none of our foam is interfering. Okay, we have thoughts. This works, but it means that, you know, the new owner is going to need to be really, really cognizant of when he puts it together and takes it apart, that it doesn't kink. It wants to kink. That's a kinky cylinder. So what we're thinking here is grinding this down, heating this up, and heat pressing this over this nipple right here. And then, of course, sealing it. But that will do away with 50% of the bend, so it just need to come down in like an L.
Yeah, nice gentle.
Nice and gentle. Yeah. Yeah. All right. I think we have a strategy. And Logan is working on finding that little leak in the OTW cylinder, which was not, by the way, any big deal at all. He undid it, pulled the O-ring off, and then you just run your hands over it. Do you see how he's doing that right now? You don't even need to take it apart. You just rub your fingers along that seal and strip all the goobers off. I want you to notice we've got clean towels underneath. If you put this on a dirty workbench, all the grit gets into the seals.
You have a great example of just like the worst situation right here. All sorts of like dust particles and
little crunchies, metal flakes, yeah, all sorts of badness. So make sure it's a sterile environment and do not use grease. I've mentioned this before. Don't use grease on here. Grease doesn't seal anything. It lubricates. Grease lubricates. It does not seal. So when you put grease on here, all that happens when you take it apart, it attracts all of the dust and particles and it sticks to it. Not good, peoples. So once he's done with that, he's going to reassemble that, and then we're going to go on to showing you how to adjust the tension in your main drive seal. This thing. So you can see two knurled surfaces. We're going to loosen off the inside one, which I don't know, you may need a
pliers for
oh no, there we go. Okay, well, it doesn't need to go all the way, just like loose. And then what you're going to do is you're going to back off the outside one. And then when it's nice and loose, we're going to go in until you feel friction. It's going to feel different when you tighten it. This actually feels, yeah. So when you start feeling tension on it, then you're going to go about a quarter of a turn more. Now double check the tension on the drive shaft. Does it still spin freely?
Yep.
Does it still spin freely?
Yep.
Okay. And then we're going to tighten up that inside knurled nut, and that's going to lock it in place. Oh, you know why that was so hard to turn? It's because it was bottoming out. No, there we go. All right, now check the tension.
Yeah, a little bit trickier, but still going.
Okay, then I think we're good. So tighten that down really good, and that'll lock that in place. Now, back when I was dealing with Bob, the process that he actually recommended was to pressure up the cylinder. So get in the bathtub, fill up the ballast tank, and that'll pressurize your end tubes. And then you loosen up the inside nut, and then loosen up the outside one until you see bubbles, and then tighten it up until the bubbles go away, and then lock it in place. So that's a different way of doing it. This is going to be a good way just to get you off to the races and get started. We'll throw it back in the water and see if it still leaks. So we got ghosts in the machine again. We're doing the Akula cylinder and we're running into problem. We power it up and then the failsafe kicks on the pump, which means no signal. And we followed it through. The receiver's not getting any power. We followed it through and the electronic speed controller is not getting any power. I want to show you what this is. So there is literally one piece of wire that moves between. There's no splices, no connections, no nothing in between. We've got the full 12 volts here at the terminus of this connector right here that's going forward. So we know it's going through these wires. But when we check here on the connector, I gotta turn it on. You got it? Mm-hmm. Oh, now we've got 12 volts. What?
I don't get it. All right, let's try this again. No.
Nothing.
2 volts.
Yeah, there's like power on one side of the Deans, but not on the other side. Which I mean, these are solid chunks of brass that go through there. I don't know. I told you guys before, I'm not a big fan of Dean's connectors, but we're gonna put some XT60s on here. Hopefully that'll address this issue that we've just spent the last 40 minutes trying to diagnose. And that was it. XT60 fixed the problem. Everything's working perfectly now. It's like, what What? We have enough to do without having to worry about faulty merchandise. Ay, ay, ay. All right, so we're back to where we started this morning. Get it all put back together again. Got a battery tray in here for the battery. Battery's charging up. One little PSA that came up. Jason wanted me to remind you guys that the option for video consult is available on my website. This is one-on-one time via video where we can troubleshoot your problems, talk about RC submarines, whatever you want for the time that you purchase. This will save infinite frustration on my part and your part, going back and forth via email or text messages is not the best way to go. So highly encourage you to take advantage of that feature. Hope to see you there. Well, that, ladies and gentlemen, is going to wrap up this week at the Nautilus Dry Docks. Let's take a quick look at where we're at. Akula cylinder all set, ready for testing on Monday. We've got all of the little troubleshooting out of the way. You got the battery all charged up, which I need to pull out. We'll load her up in the pool, just the cylinder, do a full function test, make sure it works. Balao, fully ready to go. All we need to do is throw the battery back in the cylinder, bring it to the lake. Virginia, we troubleshot our leaking seals. That's all working properly. And the probes are working properly now too. And it was a loose connection in here. That was the only thing that we needed to worry about. Inside of the boat got painted this beautiful teal color right there. And just a couple minutes ago, I rigged up the hold down for the ASDS magnet. Doot. That's super solid. Not going anywhere. I love it. Things are looking good for next week. If you liked what you saw here, don't forget to like and subscribe. It helps us out here at the Dry Docks a lot. Drop questions and comments below, but if you want a quicker answer, Bob at Nautilus Dry Docks is where you will find me. With that, I guess we'll let you go. It's been a blast. Thanks for joining me. We will catch you next time.